Hello, and today I am going to show you the next set of sentences in the next plot point of our Whistleless story. So on a Monday I shared a video where we introduced the character and the setting, and today we're moving on to plot point 2, which is the build-up. So Whistleless meets his friends and he tries to whistle. So today then I'm gonna model for you 3 different sentence types to build up and create the next part of the story. The first sentence I'm going to show you is using sentence starters. Then we're going to look at asking a question to the reader, and then we're going to go back to an earlier objective that we looked at, including double adjectives within a sentence. Let's move on to sentence 1 then. Here we go. Sentence starters. I've got some examples at the bottom here of different sentence starters we could use. You'll notice they all start with a capital letter and they have a comma after them. The examples are suddenly, excitedly, with a tear in his eye, as quick as a flash, or but to his disappointment, comma. There's lots of different examples of sentence starters that you would have come across in your own reading. And if you want to pause this recording now, you can do. And on a piece of scrap paper, make a note of any other sentence starters you can think of that you might like to use to fill in the gaps in these sentences here. Okay, so I'm going to move on now, and I'm going to choose one of my examples to start us off. So, something, comma, Whistleless tried to join in with his friends. You could use one of yours, but the one I'm going to use here is excitedly. Excitedly, comma, Whistleless tried to join in with his friends, full stop. Something he couldn't whistle. And I'm going to use but to his disappointment. I'm just going to shrink that down a little bit so it fits in. There we go. But to his disappointment, comma, he couldn't whistle! Exclamation mark. Something, he flew off, feeling disappointed and very sorry for himself. I could put suddenly he flew off, feeling disappointed. But I want my story to be dramatic and interesting for the reader. So I'm going to use with a tear in his eye, comma, he flew off, feeling disappointed and very sorry for himself. And there we go. There is sentence 1, where I've modelled for you how to use a range of sentence starters. The sentence starters here add cohesion. They link the sentences and the ideas together. And they also add a bit of interest to our story. But you don't have to use mine. I can take these out. You can pause the video here and you can have a go at adding in some of your own sentence starters and play around and see what effect they have on your story. I'm going to move on now to sentence 2, a question to the reader. All Whistleless wanted was to join in with his friends. Let's ask a question. Let's engage the reader and get the reader to think. Now, questions start with question words. What, who, how, when are just some examples, and there are many more. The important thing to remember is they start with a capital letter, and your question always ends with a question mark. There's lots of different questions you could add in here. You could use more than one. But again, pause the video recording and just gather up some ideas on a piece of scrap paper as to which one of these question words you might want to use and what question you might ask to your reader. I'm going to show you some examples of different things you could have put. These are just some examples and there's no right or wrong. Remember, this is your story, your ideas. If I was going to use what, I could say, for example, what on earth could he do? Who could help him in his time of need? Question mark. How was he ever going to learn to whistle? When would he ever be able to join in with the others? I was going to put join in with his friends then, but I changed it because I thought it would be repetitive if I had two sentences that ended with his friends. So I've changed it to the others. The other birds. There we go, that's even better, isn't it? When would he ever be able to join in with the other birds? I'll reduce that one down. I'm just going to drag it up there because that's my favourite question. Put that one there. Okay. All Whistleless wanted was to join in with his friends. When would he ever be able to join in with the other birds? And my question to the reader is engaging them and it's drawing them in to the problem faced by Whistleless and how it's building up. Okay, let's move on now and look at sentence 3, double adjectives. So here we're coming back to an objective that we looked at the beginning of our story in the introduction. So we should all know by now that double adjectives add interest to our descriptions. Flying off through the something, something town, he suddenly heard a man singing in the shower. So my double adjectives here are describing the town. You may want to pause the video again here and think of some words you could use to describe the town. If you want to be really fancy, you could think about using alliteration. See if you can remember what that is from your previous learning. Flying off through the crowded crazy town. Crowded and crazy, that's an example of alliteration. They both begin with C, K and K. But it's not the best description, really. I'm going to think of some other words. Flying off through the bustling busy town. There we go. Bustling. That's a real wow word. It describes the motion and the activity, but in a positive way. Like there's a nice buzz of activity in the town. Flying off through the bustling, don't forget the comma, bustling, busy town, he suddenly heard a man singing in the shower. The something something whistle sounded so tuneful and something that Whistleless flew over to his window straight away. So it's a positive whistle, it's a happy whistle. So let's think of two adjectives with a comma to describe this lovely whistle. The happy, joyful. So imagining the man is very happy, which is why he's whistling. There we go. And so the whistle sounds happy too. The happy, joyful whistle sounded so tuneful and I'm going to put merry here to reinforce the fact that the man is really happy. And it's a lovely sounding whistle that's attracted Whistleless's attention because he wants to whistle just like that. There we go. The happy, joyful whistle sounded so tuneful and merry that Whistleless flew over to his window straight away. And there we have it. I've stacked up 3 new sentences to add on the next part of my story. Let's see how it all comes together then. And the challenge for me now is to try and remember which words we used. Here I've put together the sentences with the gaps that we filled. Okay, so we had excitedly, comma, Whistleless tried to join in with his friends, but to his disappointment, comma, he couldn't whistle. With a tear in his eye, comma, he flew off, feeling disappointed and very sorry for himself. All Whistleless wanted was to join in with his friends. When would he ever be able to join in with the other birds? Question mark. There we go. Flying off through the, and this is the good one here, through the bustling, busy town, he suddenly heard a man singing in the shower. The happy, joyful whistle sounded so tuneful and merry, oops, that Whistleless flew over to his window straight away. There we go. So I hope that has helped you come up with some ideas for the next part of the story. And let's see if you can include some sentence starters, a question to the reader, and double adjectives in your own work. And I'll be back with another video guide later in the week to show you some more examples of sentences that we can stack up and develop this story together.